Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to the Edgar-O world. Welcome back to the House of Nightmares. I am super excited because in today's video, since Halloween is literally right around the corner, today's video is going to be a really fun one. And what I mean by it's going to be a really fun one, because since we are in the month of October and we all know that October is like one of our favorite holidays, it's gonna be Halloween. We get to talk about horror movies, candy, pumpkins, I mean pretty much the whole package for anybody that likes Halloween. So in today's video, that is what we're gonna be talking about. That is what I wanna share with you guys. I'm going to pretty much break down my favorite top 10 horror movies of all time. These are horror movies that I love, absolutely love watching, especially during October. Now, please, you gotta keep in mind, these are my personal top 10 horror movies, even though it's really hard to just narrow it down to just 10 horror movies because there's so many horror movies out there. But for me, these 10 horror movies are movies that I love watching, especially and specifically only during October, because I feel like if I watch any of these movies in March or July, August, it doesn't make me feel like it's Halloween. But there's something about these horror movies that every time I watch in October, it just gets me in that Halloween mood. It gets me into that spirit. That's pretty much what these horror movies do for me. They get me into that Halloween vibe. So keep that in mind. These are my personal top 10 favorite horror movies of all time, even though, like I said, it was hard to narrow it down to just 10, but here we are. All right, you guys, well, let's say no more. Go grab a snack, go grab a little trick-or-treat candy, and let's jump right into the video. All right, you guys, and at number 10, we have Identity. Okay, so Identity is not really considered a horror movie, but it does have a lot of like horror elements to it. It's more of a mystery crime thriller roller coaster, and I personally love this movie because it just gives me everything that I like in one of those guessing horror movies. It's kind of like the movie Scream. You're trying to guess who the killer is, and at the end when they show the big reveal, which I love movies like that, when they give you that big reveal all the way at the end and you're like, oh, okay. And that is exactly what this movie does for me. It gives me tension, and I like movies that can do that. I like guessing throughout the movie, and Identity was definitely one of those movies that I absolutely love. I will never get tired of watching this movie, so if you haven't seen it, check it out because it's a really fun time movie.
What happened at the motel? People started dying.
Alright, and moving on to number 9, and that is Paranormal Activity. Alright, so Paranormal Activity, I know a lot of people don't like these movies because they're like found footage movies and they got a little cheesy near the end. But listen, when I first saw the first movie for the very first time, that's a lot of firsts. When I saw it for the very first time, I was freaked out. I was so freaking scared. I literally went home and went to sleep with all of my lights on. I kid you not, I literally went to sleep with my TV on because I was just so scared that what I just saw at the theaters was going to happen to me in my house, because we all hear little things here and there. This movie just freaked me out, and it really does take a lot for a movie to be able to accomplish that, especially for somebody like me who loves horror movies. I usually don't get scared, but I think the first Paranormal Activity did it right. And I gotta say, I was scared.
What's happening to me?
This thing left a message.
If it's not a ghost, what is it?
All right, and moving on to number 8, and that is Valentine. Valentine is one of those horror slasher films that it's so underrated. Either you've seen the movie or haven't seen the movie, or heard about the movie but haven't seen the movie. Valentine is one of those fun slasher horror films that just keeps you guessing. It kind of does remind me of the movie Scream, because it's somebody killing somebody. It's a person killing all these people, and at the end again, one of those horror movies that has that big reveal, which I absolutely love. And I think Valentine is one of those great roller coaster ride that pays off at the end. I think it's a fun time movie. It's not the best, but it's definitely one of those slasher horror films that I would recommend and I would check out. All right, moving on to number 7, and that is Creepshow.
Jolting tales of horror. Creepshow.
So Creepshow, it's not really a horror movie. It's more like a horror TV series. This horror movie or TV series was created by Stephen King in the 80s. And it's just one of those storytelling, I don't want to say horror movies, but we're just gonna call it a horror movie, even though it was, I think it was a TV series. Or was it a horror movie? It's a movie. No, I think it's a TV series. Whatever it was, it's pretty much a storytelling. It has like different stories and it has different chapters. It's kind of like scary stories to tell in the dark, something like that. I mean, it has a bunch of different stories and each story has its own little like mini movie. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense, but Creepshow is enjoyable. I do know that they have another one called Creepshow 2. That one is really, really good too, but personally, for me, I would have to go with Creepshow, the first one. So if you are one of those young people who haven't seen this movie and you're not from the 80s, I would definitely check this one out.
No, this is going to be an entirely new experience.
Creepshow.
Moving on to number 6, and that is Insidious. Okay, again, this one, Insidious, is kind of like Paranormal Activity. A lot of people don't like the sequel, part 3, part 4. But for me, Insidious, the first one, was super scary that I actually went to see the movie twice that same day because I needed to see this movie again. The first time I went with friends, and then the second time I went with my mom because I was like, Mom, we gotta go to the movies and you gotta see this movie because it's really, really, really good. It's creepy, it's eerie, and I really like those type of movies where it just has that eerie sound. Especially the soundtrack when they use that Tiptoe song, that tiptoe through the window. Yeah, if that's not creepy enough to put in a creepy movie, I don't know what is. And I love horror movies that show stuff about dead people, like kind of like The Sixth Sense. And this movie does just that enough. They have The Further where they show all the dead people, and it's just a really good creepy movie, and I enjoyed it.
It's not the house that's haunted. It's your son.
All right, and moving down to number 5, and that is Halloween.
Michael? Halloween.
How can you not have Michael Myers in your list of favorite Halloween horror movies? Halloween horror movies? Of course, we have Freddy Krueger, Jason, but nothing really compares to this creepy guy by the name of Michael Myers. And this movie, Halloween, I love this movie because when you're watching it, especially during Halloween, it gives you that extra feel that it's definitely Halloween. And honestly, even if it's not Halloween and I watch this movie, it makes me feel like I'm in Halloween mode. It's the month of October. I could be watching this movie in August and it feels like it's already October. I love the feel of the movie. I love the feel of the 70s. I just love the characters. I just love everything about this movie. I like the 70s vibe and feel to it, even though it was filmed in the 70s. This movie just captures everything about Halloween, the falling leaves, the pumpkins, the music, the costumes, the candy, the kids running around getting candy, and then we have the killer. This movie, odd enough, captures exactly what Halloween is about, and the name fits the movie, Halloween. Alright, moving on to number 4, and that is Child's Play 2.
Now it's time to play.
Okay, so it's no secret that I'm obsessed and I am in love with Chucky, and I'm in love with Chucky movies. But my favorite Chucky movie is Child's Play 2. I don't think that's a secret. I think I've said this a couple of times, or maybe a lot of times. Child's Play 2 is one of my favorite Child's Play movie in the, 20 movies that they have. Besides, of course, the iconic Child's Play 1. Child's Play 2 for me steps its boundaries, and it really did step its game up for a sequel. Watching the movie, I do like the feel of it. It is definitely different from the first one. This one is a little bit more, I think, on the dark side, a little bit creepy and eerie. And personally for me, I feel like Chucky is a little bit more malevolent, it's a little bit more evil, and just more crazy. Child's Play 2 is forever going to be my favorite one, and it's forever going to be in my top 10 horror movies of all time. So yeah, check it out.
Surprise! Did you miss me, Andy? I sure missed you.
Alright, moving on to number 3, and that is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the remake. Okay, so I do like the 1974 Texas Chainsaw Massacre directed by Tobe Hooper. It is of course a classic, such an iconic horror movie, and I mean, of course, I'm wearing my Leatherface t-shirt. I love this t-shirt. I think it's such a nice t-shirt. But I gotta say, the remake from 2003 is a really freaking good remake. I fell in love with this movie the day it came out, and I actually went to see it in theaters 4 times. Now, of course, when the movie did come out, I was really young. I couldn't just walk into a theater and purchase a ticket for a rated R movie without having my parents there. So I literally dragged my cousins, I literally dragged my parents to come see this movie with me, and I was so in love with this movie. You guys, I kid you not, I saw this movie 4 times. Twice with my cousins, and one with my mom and the other one with my dad. My mom personally hates horror movies like this. They're too bloody, they're too gory, but I was just fascinated with this movie, and I wanted to see it as many times as I possibly could. And when they finally released it on DVD, I was the first one in line to get this movie, and I constantly watched it. I think I watched this movie so many times that I literally know every single line of this movie. And I think this is one of those movies that I know every single line to. I know every single line of this movie. I kid you not. I watched this movie so many times that I've literally learned every single line of this movie. I'm not really against remakes, and I'm definitely not against this remake. So the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003 was an A+. Alright, you guys, and we're moving down to number 2, and that is As Above, So Below.
It wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault!
Okay, so As Above, So Below, this movie is just creepy on top of creepy on top of creepy on top of, did I say creepy? This movie is so creepy, it's so dark. Oh, look, every time I think about this movie, I just get goosebumps, because listen. If you have not seen this movie, do me a favor, go watch the movie, come back to this video, and let me know in the comments, did you like this movie? Now, I'm not a big fan of found footage movies. This is a found footage movie, but I like the fact that this movie is not one of those shaky cameras type of movie. The way that this movie was directed, it was so well done that you forget that this is a found footage movie. This movie had so many creepy, so many eerie and dark scenes, especially when they go inside the catacombs and they can't get out. Every single time I see this movie, I get so claustrophobic, and I do suffer from anxiety and panic attacks when I watch this movie and I see them going through that little hole and the things just start collapsing and one of the guys gets stuck and he can't breathe. I'm telling you, my breath, I lose breath and I literally have to fast forward because I will not be able to breathe. I feel like I'm stuck in that room with that person, and when a movie is able to make you feel what that character is going through in the movie, even though it's a movie and it's fake, it just feels so real and it's so creepy that it's just so freaking good. So if you haven't seen As Above, So Below, go watch it right now and let me know if you liked it. If you didn't like this movie, we cannot be friends, because this is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. And I would not only watch this during Halloween season, but I would watch this movie all year long.
Did you hear that?
Alright you guys, well, we are down to number 1 on my list. Now before I mention what my number 1 top pick, I do gotta say there's so many other horror movies that I would have loved to put in this list, but you gotta remember that these are movies that I like watching a lot during October, during this month, because Halloween, like I said, it's literally right around the corner. So even though there's a lot more other horror movies like The Exorcist, A Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, and so many other great horror movies, my top pick for number 1 was really based on what the movie shows. So my top pick for number 1 is Trick or Treats. Okay, so Trick or Treat for me, this is one of those horror movies that is going down in history as one of the best ones. This is one of those horror movies that I'm going to show my kids so they can show their kids. And if you're following me on Snapchat, you know that I've said this so many times. This is one of those movies that you have to watch only on Halloween. I will not watch this movie any other time, any other day except October 31st. I won't even watch this movie any other day in October. It has to be October 31st. It's almost like a holiday for me. And if for some crazy reason I don't watch this movie October 31st, then I'm gonna go to jail. Trick or Treat has every single element that a horror movie should have. Like if you want a movie that has slasher in it, Trick or Treat. Werewolves, Trick or Treat. Killers, Trick or Treat. Ghosts, Trick or Treat. I mean, this movie just literally has every single genre of horror in it. I just really enjoy watching this movie. It just gives me every single Halloween vibe that you can think of. It's kind of like neck to neck with Halloween because it has the red orange leaves, the pumpkins, the costumes, everything that Halloween is. Like seriously, you can go on Google right now, put the definition of Halloween, and this movie is going to pop up because this movie is the definition of Halloween. Disagree or agree with me, I don't care. Trick or Treat is the definition of Halloween, and for me, that's why Trick or Treat is my number 1 top pick.
Wait, there's another tradition. Always check your candy.
But alright you guys, there you have it. These were my favorite top 10 horror movies to watch during this season, Halloween season, and boy, that was a lot. So I want to know, do you agree with my list or do you not agree with my list? And if you do, give this video a huge thumbs up. But since to each its own, I would like to hear from you guys. What is your favorite top 10 horror movies to watch during Halloween? Let me know your best top 10 horror movies in the comments down below. This is gonna be interesting because I really want to know what are some of you guys' top 10 horror movies of all time. But alright guys, that is pretty much it for today's video. If you are new to my channel, hi, my name is Edgar-O and I'm obsessed with Halloween, scary stuff, and fashionable stuff. Listen, we are all one big happy family and I would like for you to be part of it, so click that subscriber button. But also don't forget to click that bell button to get notified for every single time I upload, which is once a week. But alright you guys, that is pretty much it for today's video. As always, thank you for watching and I will see you on my next video. Bye.